What happens when the very foundation of trust in a business crumbles? When profit overtakes integrity, can one man's courage spark a true transformation? This is the story of Noah Bennett, a man who dared to rebuild not just a dealership, but a legacy grounded in honesty and respect. If you believe in stories that inspire real change and celebrate courage in everyday life, hit subscribe and join us. You won't want to miss what comes next. It was supposed to be a regular Thursday. Noah Bennett sat in his office, a glass-walled room perched like a watchtower above the bustling floor of Bennett Auto Group. Outside, fluorescent lights hummed over gleaming sedans and SUVs, salespeople weaving between customers with practiced smiles. His computer chimed quietly, invoices piling up on the screen, but something else cut through the hum of daily business. Raised voices. Noah paused. A woman's voice, tight, trembling, angry. He stood, moved silently to the door, and watched through the glass as the scene unfolded near the showroom entrance. Emma Collins, a young woman, early 30s maybe, dressed in worn jeans and holding a wrinkled folder of paperwork, stood face to face with Blake Foster. Blake was one of Noah's top salesmen. Confident. Slick. Too slick. No, Emma was saying, her voice cracking with frustration. That's not what we agreed on. You said the financing would be fair, I checked it, and this rate, this warranty, this is garbage. You lied to me. Blake smiled that snake's smile. Ma'am, I think you misunderstood. I'm offering you a premium package. You want your kids safe, right? This covers everything. I'm looking out for you. Emma's face flushed red. Don't dare talk about my son. I came here because this place was supposed to be honest. I don't have anyone else to help me. And you think you can? That was enough. Noah was moving before he realized it, the door slamming open as his shoes echoed across the polished floor. Blake, he said, voice cutting sharp through the air like glass breaking. My office. Now. The entire showroom froze. Phones hovered midair, conversations cut off. Even the mechanics in the service bay seemed to sense the shift. Blake turned, the mask of confidence faltering. Noah, it's fine, I've got this handled. Do you? Noah stared him down, blue eyes steady. Because from where I'm standing, you're handling it like a thief. Gasps. Whispered murmurs rippled behind him. Noah stepped between Blake and Emma, placing himself fully in the space. Miss Collins, I'm Noah Bennett. This is my dealership. I'm so sorry. Blake tried again. Noah, don't do this in front of everyone. You did this in front of everyone, Noah snapped. Dan, you're done here. Effective immediately. Get your things. Now. Blake looked stunned. Furious. But he saw in Noah's face something that could not be negotiated with, principle. Without another word, Blake stormed out. No one moved to stop him. Emma blinked, still shaking. Guy, I didn't mean to cause trouble. Noah softened. You didn't cause trouble. You showed me there was trouble. He took a steadying breath. Come with me. Let's sit down. I'm going to make this right. An hour later, in Noah's office, Emma sat with a proper contract, a reasonable interest rate, fair warranty terms. Noah even threw in a year of free servicing, not as a bribe, but as an apology. Not for the mistake of one salesman, but for a culture Noah now saw had been sliding under his feet for years. When Emma finally left with grateful tears and quiet dignity, Noah was left alone with the hum of the lights and the reflection of himself in the office glass. How had it come to this? Not one bad apple, he realized. Not anymore. It was the whole orchard starting to rot. And the worst part wasn't the betrayal by Blake, it was the betrayal of everything this place used to stand for. Noah sat down, the weight settling on his shoulders. Tomorrow everything would change. No speeches tonight. No heroics. Just the terrible, necessary start of reckoning. And somewhere deep in his chest, a memory of his father's voice, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. It was time to stand up. The reckoning. Friday dawned gray and heavy, the kind of morning that felt like it was holding its breath. Noah arrived early. The dealership was still quiet, the smell of fresh coffee barely cutting through the scent of oil and tires. Normally, mornings here were routine, efficient, sales plans, service calls, small talk about football scores. Not today. Today was for the truth. By noon, the waiting area was full, customers, curious onlookers, employees gathered by the front desks. Some were whispering, others openly staring. The news of Blake's dismissal had traveled fast, but it was what they didn't know that brought them here. Noah stood near the entrance, suit pressed, eyes steady. He hadn't called a press conference. He hadn't told local reporters. But he had told her. Emma walked in slowly, cautiously, folder in hand again, but this time she wasn't alone. Beside her stood a man in a worn sheriff's uniform, badge slightly dulled with age, eyes sharp as glass. Sheriff Cole. They walked past the others until they reached Noah. You sure about this? The sheriff asked quietly. Noah nodded once. I should have done this years ago. Then he raised his voice just enough for the room to catch it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. There's something you all deserve to hear. The murmurs softened into silence. I started Bennett Auto Group with my father because we believed in something simple, people first. Fair work. Honest deals. That's what we sold, not just cars, but trust. Somewhere along the way, we lost that. His jaw tightened, not from nerves, but resolve. Yesterday, I fired one man. But I've realized it's not just one man. There's been a pattern. Predatory financing. Tricked contracts. Especially targeting single parents, the elderly, people who needed help the most. And I didn't want to see it. Gasps broke the quiet. Noah glanced at Emma, who gave the slightest nod of encouragement. I'm here to say, I knew enough to stop it. I didn't. And that's on me. He motioned to Sheriff Cole. I've given everything we have, documents, contracts, to the sheriff's office. They're going to open a full investigation. And for anyone here who thinks they might have been taken advantage of, we'll make it right. Starting today. A voice broke the silence, a mechanic, arms folded but eyes soft. Why are you doing this, Noah? The question cut deep. Noah thought of his father's words again. Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I've been falling for a long time. For a long beat, no one moved. Then another voice, Emma's, quiet but firm. You're standing now. That was when the applause started, not wild or theatrical, but real. It was the applause of people recognizing something rare, not perfection, but honesty. Outside, the clouds hadn't moved. But inside, something had shifted. Noah exhaled, shoulders squaring for the work to come. This wasn't the end of the reckoning. It was just the start of making things right. 2 months later. Bennett Auto Group no longer looked like what it once was. The flashy ads were gone, replaced by a single, modest sign over the entrance, Bennett Auto Group, truth above all. No screaming slogans. No unbelievable rates hidden in fine print. Just one line. Clear. Unassailable. Noah stood in front of the showroom's tall windows, arms crossed, watching the soft flow of afternoon traffic. Sunlight filtered through the glass, casting gentle shadows across the impeccably lined-up cars. It was a kind of quiet he hadn't known in a long time, not the jittery quiet of a boss waiting for numbers, but an inhabited silence. Calm. The change had been brutal. Audits, calls, meetings with families they had wronged. It had taken weeks to start making things right. Some customers left furious. Others came back, shaken by the fact that someone had called them to give them back their money. Several articles had been published. Not all of them flattering. But something had begun to grow in that raw honesty. A quiet rustle behind him, Emma. She had come back a few weeks after the incident. Not to buy another car, but to work. Noah had hesitated at first, fully aware of how emotionally violent this place must have been for her, but Emma had insisted. She didn't want to stand on the sidelines. She wanted to help rebuild. She started at the reception desk, then quickly moved into the administrative files. Discreet, methodical, incorruptible. A rock amid the tremors. Did you see this? She said, now holding out a letter. Noah took it. A handwritten letter rare these days. He recognized the shaky handwriting of an old man, Mr. Halpern, a former customer. He'd been one of the first to receive a refund call. The man had hung up at first, sure it was a scam. But a week later, an official check had arrived by mail with an apology signed by Noah himself. The letter said simply, "I didn't think this still existed. Honest people. You proved me wrong. Thank you." Noah folded the paper carefully, his heart full of a strange emotion. Not pride. Not exactly. More like a new form of dignity rediscovered. A sudden crash in the workshop made him jump. It was Trevor knocking over a toolbox and laughing. He was still here. So were Helen and Carla. Others too. Not everyone, of course. Darren had left shortly after the speech. Found another dealership, one where the old ways were still in full swing. But those who stayed had formed a new core. Solid. You know, Emma said, "I still on the letter, what you did, it's bigger than this place." Noah nodded, almost against his will. "I started this job with my dad," he answered after a long silence. He taught me how to sell. But he never taught me why." Emma shrugged with a half-smile. "Maybe that's it, the next part. Finding the why." A car pulled up to the entrance. An old, dented Honda. A woman stepped out, carrying a sleeping child on her shoulder, worn-out backpack slung over one arm, exhaustion in every movement. Noah exchanged a glance with Emma. No need for words. "I got this," she said softly, already stepping forward. Noah stayed there a moment longer, the sun warming his face through the glass. The Bennett Auto Group he'd known was dead. But in that silence, in that stripped-down showroom, another Bennett was being born. Not an empire. Not a magazine success story. Something rarer, more precious, a decent business. He smiled. Not wide. Not victorious. Just real. Reinvention would never be spectacular. But it would be right. And that was enough. Noah's journey reminds us that true leadership isn't about grand gestures or flashy success, it's about quiet persistence, owning mistakes, and choosing integrity every single day. In a world that often values profit over people, rebuilding trust isn't easy, but it's possible, one honest choice at a time. If Noah's story moved you, make sure to subscribe and follow for more powerful stories about resilience, honesty, and the quiet strength it takes to make things right. Your journey with us is just beginning.